I'm Terrett, Head of Design for the Government Digital Service, which is part of the Cabinet Office in the UK, and we are making user-focused digital public services.
All this began when Martha Lane Fox, who's a dot-com entrepreneur, she was asked by the government to look at all digital stuff and write a report on all government digital stuff, everything really, all the websites, everything. She wrote that report. That report was called Digital by Default. And in that report, she was really clear, and she called for revolution, not evolution. She said, you know, we need a huge change.
Any government, I think, is complicated, and we're trying to make that information simpler for the user, and we do that by focusing on user need. You know, that's our number one thing. It's our number one design principle, but it's our number one overall principle at GDS. You know, it's just focus on the user need, work out what the user need is, and then build around that.
We have a relentless focus on user needs. So that's the first thing we do, is work out what's the user need. So, you know, in the bank holidays page, the user need is what's the next bank holiday. We work out what is the user need, not what is the government need, or the minister need, or the department need. This little video, it's actually a piece of paper stuck on a window in the office. And this came about because I had coffee with someone who used to work with FHK Henryon, who's another, he's born in Germany, but another sort of British designer that did lots of British public service graphics and posters sort of after the war. And I was talking to this guy, and he said, yeah, we did lots of work for the government with Henryon. And he always used to think that that in the UK, that bit of government is called the civil service, the non-political bit. He said he always thought the civil servants used to be forced to face the windows, to be reminded that they were serving the people.
So we have a set of design principles. There are 10 of those, and the first one is start with needs, as I've already said. There are two, I think, that are big lessons for anyone, and one of those is do the hard work to make it simple. So don't make the user do the hard work. You know, you do the hard work behind the scenes and make that information very simple for the user. I think you can apply that to anything, not just websites. And the other one is do less. You know, I think we've improved some projects just by saying let's not do all of that. Let's just, you know, or maybe there's 3 or 4 user needs. Let's pick the one and do that well, and do that first, and then, you know, and then come back to it. But I think, yeah, doing less would make most projects better.
One of the things we believe is that government should only do what only government can do. So we set the bank holidays, we set the tax rates. You know, we should tell you that stuff. We shouldn't tell you how to keep bees. There are other people that can do that and should do that.
I think what's interesting is we're constantly changing it, so it's not like a project we're doing and then we'll stop and say that's done. You know, we're already redoing some of the stuff we've done ourselves. You know, it's just because user needs, and particularly in the digital sort of space, it just changes constantly. You know, but we can work out a lot of it by Google logs and search logs, and you know, you can find out what people really mean when they. And I think you have to be slightly careful. You know, try and work out what people really mean, might not necessarily be what they're doing currently.
So we are making a thing called the Digital by Default standard, which is not just about web design. It's about how to set up a team. It's about how to work with SMEs, small, medium enterprises. It's about how to get those contracts and, you know, make sure you're making changes to your website every day rather than, you know, once every couple of years. It's about all that stuff. It's launching soon in a couple of weeks. The bit that's really interesting for me is, you know, the G8 page, the Foreign Office website, you know, the guide to starting a business, the data stuff. They're all really different user needs and have different user groups. And department sites in particular have quite particular groups of people that go and look at those and are interested in what departments are doing. But we've got that one typeface, you know, across all of that. This is a map of all the governments around the world who have either been to visit us or who are coming to visit us in the near future. These are people from around the world that are coming to see us and coming to see what we're doing. We're incredibly open and, you know, public about it. They're seeing what we're doing. Some people are just copying us, which is fantastic. But these people are coming to see what we're doing, find out more about it.
We've only been going for about 1.5 years, a bit longer, but just telling some stories about what we're doing, and there's sort of how GDS is set up and how that works, and then there's a bit about design as well, and you know, graphic design, but there's a sort of wider cultural, organisational sort of story to tell as well. Design Indaba was a really fantastic, you know, conference and experience. So I'm really excited to be here, but I think it is that multidisciplinary thing. I think these days, if you're a designer and you're only going to design conferences about design with designers talking about design, you're doing something very wrong. You know, and I don't think it's possible to design in isolation anymore either. You know, designers have to understand much more about the world now than they ever have. I mean, they always have, but more so than ever. And I think you only, you know, find that if you go to conferences about sound or aeroplanes or, you know, I don't know, stairs or something, but go to conferences about other stuff. And Design Indaba does that by throwing, you know, all different people into the mix.